Your mic's off, John.
It is now. Try again.
There you go.
Oh, dearie me, folks. It's one of those days today. I'm still suffering with the old cold and other things. Anyway, there we go.
Creepy intros incorporated presented.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the creepy music is taken care of. Let's move on to the next thing off the tick list here. So anyway, hello, everybody. Welcome to the, oh, God, I can't remember what we call this one. The midweek one. May as well.
The midweek plague cast.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I'm still suffering a bit here. I'm feeling a bit better, but goodness me, it kind of like you feel like you've cleared it, and then suddenly there's another wave of tissue-related drama starts manifesting itself.
Oh.
So anyway, no, enough.
Yeah.
We so anyway, we're back for this show. Drew's got a couple of things to talk about tonight.
Which apparently
a finished model and some CAD that you're working on, and I can do you an update on my ambulance. So anyway, how's your week been, Drew?
I'm on the kind of wind down because I finish for Christmas next Tuesday, so I'm kind of I'm not feeling work particularly at the moment, whilst simultaneously trying to get a load of overtime in for next month. So it's a, but yeah, I mean, I got some, I finally got that growler finished over the weekend, which is the never-ending growler, which has been going since about May or June time. So
well, let's talk about that, shall we? There is your growler, your finished growler.
Yes.
Do you want to talk people through it?
It's the main growler. It's a great model, highly recommended. The only reason it was it took so long was purely down to me and sort of fading in and out of enthusiasm for it. It never quite made it onto the shelf of doom, but it was kind of
hovering there,
hanging around the edges of the desk, and I'd pick it up and work on it for a few days, and then I'd go off and do another project, and then sort of I'd go back to it a month later and go, oh well, and then I'd pick it up and do another couple of days on it, and then in the last two weeks or so, I just thought, no, let's get this. You reach that stage where you kind of think, or I do anyway, and I know that Spencer sometimes is the same, where you're going to get on that model and get it finished, or you're going to throw it away. It can go either of those two ways, and I just decided, no, I need to get this finished. So I immediately went and ordered some more goodies for it.
If in doubt, buy stuff.
Yeah, well, I looked at the res kit exhausts, because the kit ones really aren't great, and I looked at the res kit exhausts and they looked fantastic in the pictures. So I ordered a set, and they turned up, and all I can say is buy res kit, buy lots of res kit. It's probably the finest resin I've ever seen in my life. In terms of it's no exaggeration to call res kits, or my experience of res kit, it's like Tamiya in resin. It's just everything clipped together just absolutely perfectly. The whole lot went together. The detail was absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I haven't really done them justice, I have to say, with my paint job on them, but they're not too bad. So as a kit, we've actually got a few bits and bobs added. So like I say, it's res kit exhausts on that. I bought some Air Res seats. So the seats in the cockpit are from Air Res. All of the pylons except for the centerline pylon are from phase hanger resin. Our good friend Mike, and the drop tanks, the big 600 gallon, or is it 400 gallon drop tanks there, they're also phase hanger resin items, and all the wheels are my own design that well, not entirely my own designer. There's a Japanese gentleman who did some for the 72nd scale Academy Super Hornet, and he actually made the F3D files, which are the Fusion 360 files themselves, available for it. So I took those and I modified them to suit this model and scaled them up, and had to do quite a bit of modification to the hubs and stuff. So yeah, it's a kit that's got quite a lot of an uncommonly large amount of resin and stuff for my. I don't often do that. I'm not huge. I don't add huge amounts of resin, and this one just ended up with a surprisingly large amount in. But I wanted to get it finished, and I wanted to make it look sort of weathered, but not like it had been dragged through a hedge backwards, if you know what I mean. So again, it was like that Tomcat I built last year. It's getting those areas of dirt and grime on like the upper side of the Lexes and out on the wings where people would walk and stuff like that. So you're kind of mapping foot traffic areas for when it's it's on board. So again, the photographs don't really show all of the weathering as much as well as it shows up in real life, which I don't know if we can actually see it. But there's the so it's, yeah, I think it's probably a bit more visible in that. So all of the all around here and out onto the wing and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, shall we say, with oils and stuff that doesn't show up particularly brilliantly in photos, but I can see here. So hopefully you can see that as it catches the light a little bit.
Yeah, what's the paints you used on that?
Most of the main camouflage colours on this are AK Real Colour. Yeah, I decided to try AK Real Colour. I liked the effect. I like the two Ghost Greys from them. So that was nice. And most of the detail stuff is Mr. Colour, and a mixture of stuff like looking over my AK third generation acrylics and stuff for most of the detail work. So if we those oh god, it looks horrible with those pylons towed out like that, doesn't it? It's just the most.
It looks like you didn't know how to put them on properly, but
yeah, it's just the most awful. It's the thing that I dislike most about the Super Hornet, and it's largely the reason I'm not a fan of the Super Hornet in general, is those towed out pylons just look awful. But yeah, it ultimately it all came together pretty well. And all the underwing stores, those harm missiles that come in the main kit, are just beautiful.
Is it overall one color or is it two colors?
It's two colors. There's but they are. It's one of those. It's light and dark ghost grey. So it's 36375 and 36320 on the top sides. But as is the way with these things, they kind of weather in. You can probably just see it along the nose in front of the Lexa where there's a slight change in shade, and perhaps under you can see it between the leading edge of the taileron and the flap. There's a sort of cutting of a darker color, but it's but yeah, it was they kind of weather together on the real thing quite a lot, because they're not terribly far apart in shade anyway. So, and yeah, most unusually for me, the wings are folded. So,
as they should be for a naval aeroplane.
Well, no, you're wrong, but carry on. But yeah, it's I kind of the Hornet is one aircraft I quite like with folded wings, because it's not, because it's only the outer panels. It doesn't really, it adds interest without detracting from the shape of the aircraft too much. So I quite like the I quite like the folded wings on this. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that came out ultimately, for something that was on the bench for so long. Yeah, that's the Super Hornet finished after 6 or 7 months.
Very nice, very nice. We'll just go back to your pictures here, and I think that's the last of the studio shots actually. But yeah, absolutely, that looks absolutely first class.
Yeah, you can actually see the weathering quite nicely on there. In fact, that made me get a green backdrop for it, because I looked at the one on the actual cutting mat there. And overall, it's probably the best overall shot showing the weathering and stuff. Is that one that was taken on my bench here?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because sometimes you can have different coloured backgrounds and things, and it can massively throw the colour and the cast and everything. And sometimes you just.
But that one, if you go back one, John, that one shows the grime and stuff on the
on the lurks,
well,
yeah,
and then out onto the wing leading edges there. So yeah, that was. I like the Growler because it's got it's busy enough to maintain my interest in the Super Hornet airframe. All the jamming pods and stuff on it. So yes, so it was a lot of resin and stuff that I wouldn't often do, but it's a bit of a showcase for our mics, pylons and tanks, and like I say, the res kit. It's almost that thing where now I'll be looking for excuses to buy res kit products for models. You just see those nozzles and they're just phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant. So yes.
Now, but you have also, see if I can do this without my messenger messages coming in on screen now. Good job there. Nothing salacious. Ish. Ish. Yeah. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can bring that in again, because you also have been designing some bits and pieces for the it's your kinetic F-16 that you're building.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll get my brain into gear in a minute, folks. It's that kind of week again where brain and hands are not working.
Not entirely.
No, it's horrible. It really
all the
is.
connections aren't being quite made, are they?
No, exactly.
No, I was. I've got the kinetic F-16, obviously. I've started it today, actually, but I was looking at it the other day, and I was just looking at the wheels again, and I was finding that what I was seeing on the wheel detail was quite soft. And it wasn't really reflecting what I was seeing looking at pictures and stuff of the real aircraft's wheels. So I sort of went to Fusion 360 and started designing my own. And that picture on the screen is in fact, that's not the final iteration. That's it's been modified somewhat further from that yet, and is now finished. And I've got actually a set here. So this is a little set that I've been playing around with. See if I can zoom you in a little bit. So yeah, the kit ones, you can see they look a little bit bleh, if you like. And also the other thing is, being in two halves, when you join them together, you inevitably lose any of the tread detail and stuff like that. Whereas sort of designing my own one, I can make the hubs separate. So there's the actual tire itself, and all the tread detail is sort of there and present. And there's a flat on the underside where it's sort of mounted, and you'd sand that flat, and that'll give you a little bit of a flat. And then that's the inner and outer hubs that I've designed. I've just given them a quick coat of paint and a wash, just to bring out the detail to show. But the idea with this is on the inner hub here, you can see there's a small hole on the inner hub. But the idea is that if you make the hole big enough to friction fit onto the undercarriage leg itself, you can glue that in place firmly, and then what you've got is a really large gluing area when you come to put the wheel on.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just line it up and pop it on, and then the outer hub will go on. But I'll just show you how easy this is. So these are the wheel actually is, that's where the wheel goes on the print. And so if you just go in with a saw like this, and that'll just snap away like so. Use a little sanding pad or whatever just to remove any excess, like that. So that was about 3 or 4 seconds worth of sanding there, and then you can paint the tire, paint and detail your hub, and then drop it in afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And you get that you get that perfect sort of delineation between the hub and the tire for a start.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the
hold the fort for a second, Drew.
like I say, there's the inner hub, and the idea is that the inner hub, you'll add the inner hub to the undercarriage leg, and then that will just pop on there afterwards. Glue that in place, and then you can drop the hub in later. And there's also a nose wheel, which is the same. Why no hubcap? Because in the photos I've got, there's no hubcap on it. Basically, to be blunt, the photograph I used, there was no hubcap on it, so I've sort of represented that. Although I'll take another look at some other ones, and if I find a hubcap, I can go back and add it as an option. No problem at all.
Mike says, "Hey Drew, I made a little announcement about you on phase hanger resin earlier."
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
so I've Mike said he would like to sell these through phase hanger. So the files have gone on to Mike for him to use. So yeah, they'll be available through phase hanger in due course. So yeah, that's that's a few hours work this week just designing those for my own benefit, and then Mr. Reeves here, our friend, deciding he wanted to pick them up for his range from phase hanger. So
pretty
there
good.
You go.
Ooh.
Excellent. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good fun as we're sort of slowly learning.
Yeah. Mike says the early A's didn't have a proud cap nor tire manufacturer markings. There we go. Solid.
Yeah, the tires, the tires I was looking at in photographs didn't have any markings on them either. So.
Oh, we've got some competition here. Powell says, interesting. I happen to have earlier F16A wheels designed. Oh, wow. I think I'm going to drop the white hank here. It's going to be wheels at dawn, I think. And this is part of a discussion I had with Mike the other day, because I'm actually quite shy about my 3D work, because you're a rank amateur. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, basically, I absolutely am, and I know that people will be all over it, and picking it apart. So it's kind of it makes you kind of, it's made me very wary of doing anything but my own prints for my own use, shall we say? Because then I don't have to I don't have to put myself on offer, shall we say.
Robert Johnson says, love your great white North hat. Take off. Go on.
Take off, eh?
Take off, eh?
You bobble Doug.
Which one's Rick Moranis?
Eh?
I'm the Rick Moranis one.
You're the Rick Moranis one.
I'm the Rick Moranis one. Anyway, I'm going to say
we're approaching my Christmas holidays where I decide what days I'm going to have my Letterkenny binge on to get my Canadian on.
Yeah, absolutely. Say hello to Damien Mullen, Dave Swindon, Jim Altegott, Carlos Ruiz, Stephen Pryor, Jerry Doyle, Simon Lewis, Darren McQuillan, Lee Suter, Ian Goldstraw, Ophir Cohen, Alan Richardson, Captain Magenta. Yup. Simon James Colley, Brian Wilton, Powell Krupovich, some bloke called Mike Reeves, sounds like a bit of a chancer. Stuart Bremner, Dave Fleming, Mike Williams, Dave Cow. A lot of Daves on tonight. I think it's become a very popular name on this show.
My name's not Dave.
Dave. Yeah. Should just call this show Dave, but then I'll get a copyright strikeout notice from Dave the TV channel.
Probably. You don't need any more copyright notices,
thank you very much. Dave Coward says, evening, Jen. Another Dave. Have we had Damien Mullen? Yes, we have. It was the very first person. There we go. Scrolling through. Colin, here we go. Greg Woodbridge, Stan Codling, Colin Strachan, Douglas Hunter, Dan Wood, Robert Johnson. He says, Drew, say hello to Fred and give him a treat.
Oh, trust me, Fred was on my lap until 2 minutes before 2 minutes before we came on air. There's no need to worry about Fred. Fred is fine.
Herman Hambrush is hello all. Marcus Stone, Christian Gerard, Mr. Christian, Paul Milligan, Dougal McWoogle, who apparently is in Warsaw this week. Well, clearly we're poles apart. Come on, the drum sting. Come on. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway. Tumbleweed. Very good.
But
I know. Too late. Another David Mummery. Goodness me. Here's a question from Jim Altegott. He says, do Meng aircraft kits contain as many parts as their armor kits?
No. They are. I mean, they are still relatively complicated as modern kits go, but they're not. You haven't got 250 track links to wade through, shall we say? They're not as complicated as the armor kits. Although I kind of get the feeling that recently armor kits have started perhaps getting a bit simpler again. I think they peaked a few years ago.
I still prefer the Tamiya approach to armor kits. I know people like having multi-million part interiors and all that kind of stuff, but I just like the buildability. Is that a word? It is on this show. The buildability of a Tamiya armor kit. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Piece of cake. That'd be lovely. Thank you. So it's horses for courses, isn't it? Really. Jim Altegott says, "You hoser indeed, Jim." If
people think I'm distracted and looking down, I am. I'm just checking F16 wheels now because obviously now I'm second guessing myself because
Dave's being a bit of an instigator here. He says, good to start on something like the F16 that no one cares about. Some BF 109 bits next. Yeah, I think we'll throw them in the naughty room, to be honest with you. And he also, David Ross has joined us tonight. This is the League of Davids. This is. Dave Fleming does remind us, Dave Pollard. Indeed. Julian Dallamore says, hi, guys. Jared Watkinson, who lives over the hill from me, he says, howdy. And Jim again says, I don't think Mini Art got the memo about part reduction. No. But
no.
We love Mini Art, though. So... We
love Mini Art, but they're not shy about bits, are they?
They do like including lots and lots of bits. So, but I mean, having said that, I did Goodness me, I did go back and have another look at my Tempo E400 the other day, and I did a little bit of work on it. And to be honest with you, I did a little bit of work on it, but it still hasn't kind of like advanced it in any way. So
Do you know what? That was one of the things I said about the even about the growler as well. Is that it just, you know, for weeks I was doing bits and bobs and stuff to it, and it never seemed to be getting any further forward at all.
yeah,
And you kind of start losing the impetus a little bit.
yeah. I've well, talking of impetus or impotence, one or the other. My Airfix ambulance, which I think we were looking at on Sunday, and what do you know? Come on, oh for goodness sake, why does my camera not want to work? And that is because we've got the wrong camera plugged in. There we go. So I was getting on with some bits and pieces on the Airfix ambulance. Essentially, I've got most of the interior now all base painted, and I got those side panels that I picked out in just a brown color. So the only thing I've got to do now is somehow go in and paint that floor in a wooden color. I've not made life easy for myself with the fact that I've got the flooring in place, the benches in place, but we'll find a way around that. That's not impossible because it's just flat surfaces, to be honest with you. And I think it's one of those situations that what I could probably do is probably freehand it, then go back in with then mask it, then go back in with the cream vice, and then just finish it off that way. In theory, anyway. But I just want to get this. I want to get this wrapped up, really, not through any fault of the kit, but I'm always conscious of the fact that if these things carry on much longer, there's a danger that there's a danger that we'll be into February next year, and I still wouldn't have finished this.
Yes, yeah, I know. And like I say, it's so with a lot of kits these days, it's easy to go that way, isn't it? Where and suddenly one day you'll do something and it'll just all start coming together really quickly.
Well,
is what I tend to.
Thing is, once I put the roof on, how much of that interior can we really see? Bearing in mind that I'm gonna crank at least part of the doors open as well. So yeah, I'm doing that thing which I said I would stop doing, and I'm being overly finicky and overly fussy, and I need to frankly pull my finger out and just get on with it. So I think over the next couple of days, if I've got any energy left, I will. Oh, that's the. Oh, do you know what? Now that that's actually there, I think we'll leave that in place and then just glue the roof on afterwards. So, well, actually, that's worked. That's actually worked quite well. So yeah, so I'm just going to crack on with it, really. As much as I would like to lavish night shift levels of time and effort on a model like this, that's not the purpose of me building it, quite frankly. So I just need to get it done, moved on, and then we can get on to the next project. This is part of the problem, and that is, do I want to build kind of like perfect models, or do I just want to build models? And to be honest with you, there's the bench seats there. To be honest with you, I think I just want to build models. So if that means knocking back not the quality threshold, but you know what I mean, is going for something which is acceptable, albeit very straightforward, then that's the route I'm going to go down. Then
yeah, I mean, I'm much the same. I just want I want to get a bit of productivity back.
Yes.
And it just sometimes feels like we get a little bit too mired.
Yep.
In spending weeks doing something, I mean, once upon a time I was renowned for my rate of modeling.
Yep.
and that's all in that. All feels like it's very much in the rear view mirror these days.
Well, I seem to have returned to my pre-pandemic levels of output, as in not much at all. So again, I really need to address that and just get these, because the thing is by not having models that are actually finished, it's slowing me up, kind of getting on with other things as well. So I'm trying to think how many models have I actually completed this year? I think it's 2. And one of them being the Lafley V15. Was that this year or last year? No, that was this year. Was that last year?
I think you probably started it last year.
Perhaps it was last year. I can't remember. Anyway, that and the Armour Hobby P51. Apart from that, it's been a shocking year, folks. Not been pulling my weight in the workshop, quite frankly.
I've done better than that. I think I'm sort of 15 or 17. So, but even that for me is just, yeah, but John, you remember what I used to be like? That's pathetic for me. You know, that would have been in the high 30s 15 years ago. So
I know.
You know, it's all relative, isn't it?
It is all relative.
It's all relative, you know, and sometimes I just find that, you know, I get home from work and I just don't want to do anything.
Oh, I know the feeling. It's yeah. I mean, I come into the workshop. I do a little bit of kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Whittling. But beyond that, I then just kind of go, I'm not. You've got to be in the zone. And if you're not in the zone, there's no point in really trying to force it, because that's when you make mistakes. That's when your enthusiasm goes completely out the window then.
Yeah, in actual fact, I'm going to try with this F16, something I've thought about for quite some time. And again, one of the things that I'm known for is the fact that I love stores. I love, you know, I love funny, funky bombs and missiles and stuff. But on this F16, it's going to have a pair of AMRAAMs, a pair of Sidewinders, and a centerline tank, and that's it. That's all that's going on it. It's going to be a pure, you know, sort of interception, quick reaction outfit, and that way I won't get mired down in you know, spending weeks building loads of different stores for it, and hopefully I can get it through paint and out the other side, shall we say, as quickly as possible.
David asks, very nice, JM, what blend did you use for the interior cream? That is straight out of the bottle. That's just AK Cream Vice. So that's AK RC046. I just needed that kind of interior cream, really. Joe Pestaglici says, hello, everyone. A bit late. Don't worry, Joe. You're very welcome. Robert Johnson says, I got the Tamiya F35. The ram tape is done a lot better than the Kitty Hawk and Meng kits. Should be a good seller for Tamiya. Yeah, I think you're right there, Robert.
I must confess, my early skepticism is evaporating a little bit the more I'm seeing of it, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I can, you know, I'm actually starting to think it's quite impressively done. Still overdone, but
it's still overdone.
Yeah. Done overdone by Tamiya is a huge difference to overdone by Meng, shall we say. Yeah.
Jim Altagot says, speaking of lower parts counts on armour kits, I am pleasantly surprised at the simplicity of construction of the tack-on Grant tank. Excellent fit and crisp detail makes for a great model. That's interesting, because I do like my Lee Grant tanks, but I do like the Grants especially. Yeah, that's interesting, because I know Mini Art have done Lees and Grants recently, and they are Mini Art, so they are insanely detailed. But nothing wrong with that. As I've said before, I think sometimes you've got to build one of those models with all the interior or anything, just to have the experience, just to
Yeah,
off the bucket list.
and there's some stuff that I look at and I think, God, I'd really like to go to town on that. I'd really like to, open panels. And I keep looking at that kinetic Pucara, and
Yeah.
there's now an awful lot of stuff available, open cannon bays and engine bays and stuff like that. And I keep looking at it and thinking that would just look so great with an open engine and one of the cannon bays open and stuff like that. But I just don't know if I would get sort of 2 weeks into a 2 month build and just run out of enthusiasm for it and then end up rushing it to get it through. In my mind's eye, it looks amazing. Spending 70 or 80 pounds on all the resin that I can grab together for it would be a great little project. And then I think, but would I just run out of enthusiasm? As somebody who loves airbrushing more than anything else.
There's also that pressure that if you suddenly think to yourself, my God, I have got so much capital wrapped up in this one model, and then you suddenly feel I am absolutely duty bound to finish it, and then you just think, I just want to build something out of the box and kind of like prove a point. So Craig Sargent says it's about time Drew's completion rate dropped off, allows us mere mortals a chance or an chance to keep pace. Well, we have been putting stuff in his tea just to kind of like slow him down a bit.
Craig, my completion rate dropped off a decade ago. Craig, you know
that. Mike Williams says it's all about the quality, not the quantity. Yeah, it is, Mike. I think I just like to sometimes be able to look at something, build it, bang it out, think, yep, that's it. That's good. Move on. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and Mick Wilson says, I find the balance shifts between putting out volume of decent-ish stuff and then sometimes investing in one or two particular builds. Yep. Good point. That's exactly it.
I could have spent another 2 weeks on that Hornet just doing oil weathering and stuff. I could have spent a hell of a lot longer on it, and eventually I just went, no, you know what? As an expression I hate, I'm calling that done. I don't like that expression.
You're going to stick a fork in it, aren't you?
Yeah, modeler saying I'm calling it done. What do you mean you're calling it done? Is it done or isn't it? But yeah, eventually I just walked away and just said, no, it's finished.
Yeah,
pick another project.
As much as I'd like I say, Martin Kovac, I mean, God, he's just such a brilliant modeler, and I see the stuff he does, and I think I'd love to aspire to do that, and I'd love to do that, but then Martin's doing this full time. I'm not. I'm kind of doing this.
Yeah, I mean,
a couple of hours in the evening, and I'm not. That's not a slight against Martin. What I'm saying is he has the time to invest and develop his hobby, which is
I think what Martin does was thrown into perspective for me when one day he was talking about having chipped one of the tanks, and said he was relatively happy that he only had to spend 70 or 80 hours chipping it, and it was just like, there you go. That's the difference. I want to, if I'm chipping a 35th scale tank, I want to get it done in a handful of hours. The idea of spending 70 or 80 hours or 3 days at the modeling desk putting a wash on a model is just no. It would suck every last bit of enjoyment out of the project for me.
Yeah. Michael Merkins says, that's really true. Leave out the stuff you can't see. I'm currently doing the same on the Italeri Fokker Maritime. No chance of seeing the interior and the hard yucca you spend on it. Indeed. Yeah, I think the thing there is that sometimes you feel as though you're kind of like you're slightly cheating by not doing something with all the detail that a kit company gives you. But again, if you can't see it, what's the point in spending the time on it? So Ofer Cohen says, any news or additional info about the new Revell 32nd scale Hurricane? Is it a hit or a miss? We have no idea at the moment. We're waiting for more news on it. So
all of the information I've seen on it so far, from the initial "it's horribly wrong" to Mr.
it's
Brindan
grudgingly
saying,
okay.
Yeah, I'm starting to think it's on balance, it's going to be a hit.
Yeah, who's done the design work on that? It's
Radu, isn't it?
It's Radu Branzan. Yeah, so yeah, I think we can take that. It's not going to be a stinker. Let's put it that way.
No, it's
Yeah.
And he's given an extensive sort of breakdown of why it's correct. The Hurricane has no dihedral. It has none. It's flat. The only thing that gives it that appearance are the outer wing panels and the taper to the tip on the underside, but the wing topside is flat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Pavel Krupovic says most TACOM kits are generally not over-engineered with millions of parts, while still providing nice details and reasonable accuracy. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Jim Altagot says, if the construction moves at a swift pace, then it will be an enjoyable process. Getting hung up on details and making them fit can be a real drag for me. Yeah, I agree with that. It can you can just get really bogged down with something, and the enthusiasm just straight down the plug hole. So I've had that happen where I've lost enthusiasm for something, then I've finished it off, and then I finished it off with a rush of enthusiasm, and then I thought, well, why didn't I enjoy this model more when I was building it? And it's not so much the model, it's what's going on up here that can sometimes be the real kind of sticking point. And Robert Johnson says, I saw a picture of an F-35 Aggressor. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, some of the very early block ones now that would never be able to be in frontline service are Aggressors. I've been painted in a splinter scheme.
Well, just looking that up. Looks it up. The 65th Aggressor Squadron. Blimey. Blimey, Governor. Yes, indeed. Very. Yes. It's on Wikipedia, so I think we can share this.
I think I've only seen one picture. I've only seen one scheme so far, shall we say. It's the white and grey.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice, though, isn't it? It's almost like a Ferris scheme, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like some of the F-16s. It's supposed to represent that short-lived Russian scheme on MiG-29s and some of the Su-35s before.
It was a short-lived scheme, but then they just became short-lived aeroplanes.
Yes, yeah, they're partially that, but partially I can't remember when they went to that dark blue-grey eggplant scheme. It turned out that somebody had been lining their coffers for that contract in typical Russian style, and it's actually a pretty appalling scheme overall. So it's quickly phased out. They went back to the camouflage, and no doubt somebody went off to buy his next super yacht with the proceeds.
Julian Dallimore says, how many hours of model building do you both feel you do on an average year? That's an interesting one. Right. Well, you have a think about that, Drew. I'm just going to do some mental maths here.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do something every single day I'm at home. Even if it's 20 minutes, I try and do something. And some days I'll sit down for a couple of hours, and some days I'll do an hour. I would think it's in the low hundreds of hours per year.
I'm just doing some maths here, and I reckon, right, okay, if we say for most Saturdays and most weekends, say if there's sport on the radio and it's at the very least 3 hours during the daytime on a Saturday and a Sunday, so that's 52 Saturdays a year, 52, so that's 52 times 3. So yeah, it's easily upwards of about 1,000 hours or something, really, ish, I reckon. That makes sense.
Is that high? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. Hang about. Well, this is a conservative estimate, and it is So let's say I'm doing 3 hours a day on a Saturday. There are 52 Saturdays a year. So
So there's
3 times 50
150.
is 156. So let's say I'm doing that on the Sunday as well. So we times 2. So that's going to be 312. Then say I'm doing a couple of hours during the week. So say three nights a week. Again, on average, a football match. So 3 times, yeah, it works out about 1,000 hours. Really, doesn't feel like it. I feel I should be doing more with that time, quite
I was
frankly.
going to say, surely I can't be much different then overall. I'm possibly grossly underestimating the amount of time I spend building models.
Perhaps what we should do is, instead of having Fitbits, we should have Kitbits.
Yeah,
And it kind of like it
record
then logs in how many hours you're spending at the workbench. So, which in my case is either not enough or too much. Anyway,
yeah, there's no happy medium.
I know. Mike Reeves says, I have completed exactly. Then he didn't complete the sentence. So that was a good start. There we go. I have completed. There we go. Exactly. Drum roll. 1 kit this year. Well, Mike, it's more than most people have completed this year. Mike Williams says, when I built the recent Special Hobby Mirage 3 CJ strictly out of the box, it was very refreshing, concentrating on building and finishing, no enhancements. No, it doesn't detract from the finished model for me. Yep, nothing wrong with that. Your workbench, your rules. Downward says, the Hurricane looks really good to me. I've got a pre-order in and I'm looking forward to it. Mike and Penn Richard, this is a tricky one. This evening, chaps, got any suggestions for paints to use on rubber? To me, are tank tracks so that they don't flake. That's a tricky one. I think the only suggestion I've got for that is try and use a latex paint. It's the one that's got a bit of give in it. So something like a Vallejo acrylic or some such. But I think the trick is make sure that they are well washed, and then paint them, but just don't handle them.
I must admit, I've never had any particular problem.
Oh, I have. It's like one Tamiya kit. It was fine. The next one, all the paint fell off.
Yeah, no, I've never had a. I mean, but I've for decades now, I've only ever used pretty much either various Mr. Surfacer mixes or Tamiya acrylics. So my base coat for tank tracks these days is a mixture of Mr. Surfacer mahogany and black to give you that really dark brown sort of color track. What Humbrol used to call track color, didn't they? A really dark brown, and that's just works for me, and I've never really had any trouble with it peeling off.
Yeah, see, I was. It shows how dumb I was. I always thought Humbrol track color. I always thought, oh, that's something to do with railways, and it was only.
You know what? I used to think, John. I used to think exactly the same, and it was only a few years ago when I saw people using this really dark brown mix to paint tracks and saw how good it looked. I kind of like went, oh. It was like for many years. Mike McAvoy, when he reviewed the Fujimi Red Arrows Hawk, said he used the beak of a dead sparrow to form the front of the smoke pod on the. And for years, I was thinking, you went out to the back garden and found a dead bird. And it was only sort of, a couple of decades later, I went, he meant a Sparrow missile, didn't he? Oh.
Hey, oh, right, Drew. Before I forget, we do actually have another kit to talk about. I almost forgot about this one. And it is, and you can talk about this because I know absolutely nothing about this. So there's a surprise. It is Modelsvit, one of your favorite manufacturers, and it is their 1/72nd scale Mirage 2005F.
Yes, please.
We'll just run through.
I mean, I've built
here.
I've built the Mirage 5C. Built the Mirage 5C last year when it was released. Fantastic model, superbly detailed, and I've been waiting for the Mirage 5, the 2000-5 since. So yeah, I shall be very happy to take delivery of a pair of these as soon as it's available.
Nice big decal sheet, canopy masks, and photo etch. So that's a
Yep.
good start.
Yeah, and you've got the you've got the nose there for the RDY radar, and the Mirage 2000-5 fin there. So lots of little changes on the dash 5.
They've got the surface detail on this, and you've got to look at the pictures, but it's got the most exquisite rivet detail on it.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I say, I built one. I built it as soon as it was released last year. I built the C. So I mean, this is largely the C model. So you've got new cockpit parts there because obviously you've got the multifunction displays. That's common with the 2000C. Yeah, most of the sprues here are common. I suspect that's a common sprue. You got the mica missiles there, and that's a new sprue because you've got the big drop tanks there.
They're the supersonic drop tanks, aren't they?
Yeah, they are pretty much. I think only France uses those ones. The export tanks don't have the bulge at the front. They're the same thickness of the main body, same diameter of the main body, but it's just a one constant cord and then taper off. It hasn't got that bulge at the front.
Yeah.
But then you got another pair of they actually look like R530s, and so there's Super 530s there, which is odd because you wouldn't expect to see those on the. Or are they micas? No, they're IR micas. Sorry, radar micas. EM, mica EM. So
the wing.
Yeah, that's common. That's common to the sea.
Undercarriage and other bits
common,
and pieces.
That's common again.
It's common, isn't it? E. That's
a common sprue.
I'm just blown away by the level of detail in this kit.
And models of it are amazing. I keep saying every time I say it, and people still think models fit now. And then you got there's two IR micas and two EM micas. So there, and a pair of Magic 2s. I keep saying that model split of today is not model split of even 5 years ago. It's a completely different. They have come on so far. And don't forget, people, Ukrainian. So
yep,
your money is well spent.
Your money is well spent.
But not only is your money well spent, you're not doing. It's not about doing anybody a favor, because what you're getting is a total quality package for your money as well. So. It's a fantastic kit, and it's a beautiful aeroplane. So,
and the fact that models fit, like so many of the Ukrainian manufacturers, are still hanging in there. They're still producing stuff. They're not only still producing stuff, maintaining production, but they're still planning for the future.
Yes,
just remarkable, really is. I literally do tip my hat to them. They're just an incredibly resilient and brave people.
I think we've been incredibly privileged to see the way the Ukrainian model companies have been at something very visible to us modelers as kind of like a microcosm of Ukraine at large. Getting on with it, there was that month or two of uncertainty at the beginning, and then they kind of just rolled up their sleeves and got on with it. Of course, we had the tragic the tragic death of the artist for Rodin, who was I'm going to call it a murder because because it was. But you know, the way the model companies have rolled their sleeves up and got on with it is just representative of Ukraine at large. And I will say any money spent that way is money well spent.
No, absolutely. Overcohen says Hasegawa about to rebox F-35 Aggressor.
That's a really nice, simple little kit as well. That I think Hasegawa have done the best surface detail overall on any F-35 on their 72nd one. But that's the 72nd CL F-35A they did is a really, really simple but nicely done kit. There's no fussiness about it at all.
Gordon J says, evening all, ice cold in Ayrshire tonight. Yeah, it's ice cold in Portishead as well, I can tell you that. I had to chip some ice off the binny this morning, which was annoying. Wasn't going anywhere with it. I just thought I'd go outside and be annoyed by it. In just my general mood of being annoyed by everything. Gordon also says, if we spent as long in the gym as we do at modelling benches, we'll all be much healthier and much slimmer. Well,
but not as happy.
10 hours. There we go. Robert Johnson says 10 hours a week works out to 520 hours a year. Yeah, so
I would say probably 10 hours a week probably is about right for me.
Yeah,
overall.
Yeah,
some weeks considerably more, some weeks quite a bit less.
Yeah, Captain Magenta says cover them in mud. Yep, absolutely. That's the shtick. That's the thing to do. Jim, my God, Jim. He says the newer generation of rubber band tracks respond well to both paint and glue. They do. I think it's the old-fashioned kind of PVA ones that you'll get in older Italeri kits, older Tamiya kits. That they flake like mad. Really.
That's polythene, isn't it?
Sorry.
They're polythene, aren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, whereas I think a lot of them these days are done in a form of what's known as K resin. So, and Powell says, Tamiya acrylics work well on Tamiya tracks as long as you don't handle them too much. Like I said, something like just some model color or some Panzer Aces.
Yeah.
Just I think we could call these, Drew. The Euro acrylics, I think we can call them latex based, can't we?
No, well, see, I don't know because Tamiya are latex based as well.
Okay.
So it's an odd one. But yeah, I mean, having said that, why would you handle tracks excessively anyway? I paint them and put them on the model, and everything that happens thereafter is when they're on the model.
Yeah, I found this with something I did last year where I was putting the tracks on the model, but as I was doing it, the paint was then flaking off the tracks as I was trying to get them into position on the model. So yeah. Anyway, and Powell says wrong scale. Just kidding. Not interested in Mirages much. So I'll have a word with him after the show. Dave Fleming says just about to start a Tamiya Mirage 3 as a quickie project, 1/100 scale. That's what he's thinking of there. Brian Wilton says it's time at bench versus amount of time actually building. This is true. Time at bench versus time spent on hands and knees underneath the bench looking for bits and pieces that have shot.
Well, I finished that Super Hornet on Saturday, and I only started the F-16 today. Although I have been every night since, I've been working on those wheels. So, are those wheels part of this project or not? No, not really. But they are part of the project, but they're not part of the build. If you know what I mean, I'm not counting it as an integral part of the build. So, yeah.
And Mike and Penrich say this is the Tamiya Panther kit, so definitely an older kit. So when you say the Tamiya Panther, we're talking about the Tamiya Panther, the original kit, because I seem to remember the tracks on my model were problematical when it came to getting paint to stick to them. But again, sometimes you've just got to really kind of wash them thoroughly, even give them a soak in something like isopropyl alcohol or something. But it can vary. It can vary. Some rubber band tracks take paints quite well. Others just refuse to play ball. So, but yeah, we'll have a look into that for you and see what we can come up. Yeah, there they go. Yes, the kit, the original Panther A, which I gotta say, Not a fantastic replica, but a great kit.
Yeah, a real fun little build. Yeah.
Fun build to build that, actually. Christmas projects. I was, well, at the moment, I'm just hoping to get these things finished. I would like to build the Walker Bulldog, which, because I got Mike Reeves poking me in the side about that. I do actually want to build, where has it gone? My Italeri Crusader tank. I'd like to build that. Because that's a kind of like a homage to the. I had the figures back in 1979. Couldn't afford the Crusader tank, but I had the figures, so I'd like to be able to do that as a completed little bundle, really. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. How the mood takes me. I'm also, without getting the old tiny violin out here. I'm still battling with this blessed COVID fatigue all the time. It's absolute purgatory. It's not fun. I know it's in the scheme of things, it's small fry, but when you're somebody like me who's always trying to cram as much as they can into the average day, to have your energy levels just fall off a cliff is alarming, I think is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah. But we're trying to work our way through it. Jan Volek says, my Christmas project, and I blame JM for it. So Jan, are you building the Italy Crusader tank? There's a thing. That would be fun. Have a Crusader build off. I don't know. Right.
Careful. Careful.
I know. Actually, that's a very good point. A couple of people have mentioned it. The festive owl of modeling. Are we going to do? Oh, the Tempo. Sorry, Jan says it's the little Tempo. It's the Tempo E400. I do as a veggie delivery. Are we going to do a festive of modelling? I think we probably. I'm speaking for Drew here, and he doesn't know this. I think we probably will, but it'll be more of just kind of like over the Christmas break, of just setting our cameras up, just having them live streaming our workbenches, and just yakking our way through our own projects. Does that sound good to you, Drew?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. I was rather hoping to be engaged in the Tamiya F-35 for Christmas, but I don't think that's going to happen.
We'll see what we can do. I'll have a word with Mr. Farmer this week. I think it all depends on how many they've got, because obviously their supplies are limited. And I think this is one thing that I don't think a lot of people are still fully appreciating, is just the supply chain disruption that continues to go on with a lot of model kits.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
Not helped by the situation in Ukraine, also not helped by withdrawing from your largest trading partner bloc, but what can you do about it? We will continue to try and do this. Robert Jack Johnson says, I wish Dragon would release their magic tracks separately. Yeah, I love their magic tracks. They're pretty good, although I need to go and have a look at the ones on my Sherman Firefly to see whether they've suddenly rotted or not.
I was going to say, wasn't it the DS tracks that exploded after a few years?
I don't know.
Magic tracks and DS. I know I know Dragon tried various sorts of tracks, didn't they?
Yeah.
But, no.
Hold on. I'm going to go into the hall to go and get my little Firefly. So you solo for a minute. Drum solo.
He's off to get his Firefly. Oh dear, that's a full screen of me. Not happy about that.
You. I know it's. I should have warned people, but
yeah. Well, you should have warned me.
Yeah. Oh, my back. Oops.
We'll just wait for John. We'll just wait for John to get back. Any time? No sign yet. Nothing yet. Yeah, so I need to wrap this up, because I now need apparently to go and relook at my wheel hubs and put hubcaps on them, because the photograph I had didn't. Sorry, I was like, you should count time spent on interviews. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Pavu, but I kind of it was separate from the kit was sitting next to me, and I hadn't actually done anything to the kit apart from sort of cut the wheels off to use as reference for doing new ones. So I kind of find it difficult to class them as part of the bill. So have you done it yet?
Yeah, well, the fact that Dragon Sherman Firefly is no longer sat on my display cabinet in the hall suggests to me that something happened to the tracks, and so it's been moved to a box somewhere. So,
Because it was there for a good few years, wasn't it?
yeah, I'm actually. Hold on.
Oh
I'm
no!
all right, no, you're not going solo this time. Hush your noise, man. I'm just checking to see it's not in the workshop, actually. I can't see it in the workshop. Don't know where that's gone. Well, there you go. Christmas competition there. If you know what I've done with my Dragon Sherman Firefly, then send your answers into the interesting modelling company, care of, etc., etc.
I mean, I would say it's always been on that shelf, but then I haven't been to your place since lockdown started.
No, and it's not on that shelf. I can tell you, and I think the reason it's not on that shelf is that the tracks suddenly deteriorated, and I moved it into a box somewhere, and I don't know where it is. Because the thing was, anybody who doesn't know, I started building that model 2010, and I got it up to a point where it was still in the plastic. It had the photo etch on it, and I put the DS tracks on it, and it looked so lovely in that kind of composite materials form that I just didn't have the heart to paint it. So I left it in that.
Didn't have the heart to paint it, so I didn't.
I didn't, and it looked absolutely beautiful. I don't know where it is now. Probably rotting somewhere. But anyway, we'll find it at some stage. I'm just looking at the shelf of doom here. Yeah, less said about that, the
better. Brian's asking what I used to clean out VMS varnish. Brian, I'll add a drop of water to dilute it enough to spray quickly through the airbrush, a cup of water, and then a cup of lacquer thinner, and that's it. Move on. I haven't had any trouble with it at all, really.
Oh, excuse me.
So yeah, a bit of water, mix it round in the cup, spray it through, and then some lacquer thinner.
Yeah. Gordon J asks, are the Italy Crusader figures any good? Not great. Some of them can be coaxed into submission. Francois Verlinden did on a diorama that he built many years ago. Perhaps we'll look at that diorama at some stage in the next couple of weeks, because we are going to do our kind of like I think we are going to do our favorite things night. I think that's a good way of putting it. So it'll be magazine articles or books or things like that, and we'll all our favorite modeling objects in our favorite modeling in 1,000 objects or something, that kind of thing. But yeah, Francois Verlinden used the figures in his diorama, and they looked all right, so but then Francois Verlinden is a very good modeler, so I think it's relative to the skills you put into them. Gordon J wants to see the Verlinden diorama. What's the time? 11:45. Shall I go and get the book? It's only on the shelf over there, Drew. Shall I go and get it? Yes, no? Come on. Give me some encouragement.
Go on then. All
right. Don't bully me.
Go on then. Well, you still stood there. Go on. Shift.
Well, I've got to get the microphone off. For goodness sake. He's bullying me again, folks. This is why I don't like having him up in my house, because he just takes over, essentially.
Go.
Right. There we go.
Oh, is he not gone yet?
Oh, God. Oh. Oh, old age.
He said it's just over there on the shelf. I bet you it isn't.
It's just over there on the shelf, and I'm trying to see. There it is. I can see it.
Oh dear.
Oh, shush. Well, it was over here on the shelf.
There you go. There's the answer we were all waiting for, wasn't it?
Don't make me come over there and start. Oh, God, blimey. Actually, I'm just going to stand here for the next 5 minutes and make old man noises just to annoy you. So.
Doesn't take old man noises to do that.
It's gone. It's vanished.
Of course it has. You'd more or less jinxed it when you said it's just over here on that shelf.
It was over here.
Was. I think there you go. There's the word we're looking for. Was.
Right, okay. Hang about. I can hear all this going on. Right. I am thank you. I am gonna have to I'm going to have to actually do a little bit more research into that, because it's in there somewhere, but I can't find it at the moment. But oops, what was that? Oh, that's all right. That was the content creator decided to go walkabout for a second there. But anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll find that copy of that Verlinden book. It's probably in another folder because I was using it for something else. So we'll find it. But we will do that. We'll show you the pictures of it. If I can find the pictures, find the magazine, the book rather, I'll scan the pictures and I'll put them up, and then we'll talk about another time. So there you go. Yeah, Gordon says, sorry if my request has caused JM too much trouble. No, it hasn't caused me too much trouble. It's caused me a lot of embarrassment and ridicule, but it hasn't caused me any trouble at all. So fair enough.
As is only right.
Right. Any other? Try it again. Any other business?
No, not from me. Not from me. I'm off to redesign some wheel hubs before Mr. Reeves puts them on the market.
No. Brian Wilton says he normally just goes and leaves you to Solo. Talking of Solo, I started watching that again the other night, and you know what? It actually holds up a lot better than the trilogy films. I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it, Drew.
I'm so completely over Star Wars. It's just
okay.
I can't even. I'm just so totally over it. I'm just.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised how much Solo felt that it belonged to the television universe than it did to the JJ verse, and it's just I
even watched the first 4 episodes of Andor and just kind of drifted out and went, oh, it's not really.
You got to drift back in, mate. It's great.
No, it just completely.
You got to do it. It gets grimmer and grimmer as the show goes on.
It just it didn't grab me, so I ended up. The one thing that people do need to watch if they haven't is Wednesday. That is fabulous.
Okay, there's another show that somebody recommended to me, which was 1899 or something.
Yes, I haven't. I'm going to start watching that this weekend, I think.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if people haven't seen Wednesday yet, it's fabulous.
Right.
Absolutely fabulous.
Right. Is that Adam's Family?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Just brilliant.
Robert Johnson asks, what model would you like to see in the new year?
What would I like to see in the new year?
Well, a new kit.
I would like to see in the new year somebody do a 1/48 scale F86A.
I would agree with that, and I'd like to see an F86A in 72nd scale as well.
I would settle for that as well, but I think it would. I keep thinking models fit because I trust them, and they've done the P51H and stuff like that. So and the F82, so we know they can handle that sort of stuff very, very nicely. So if it was down to one subject for me, it would be a 1/48 scale F86A is what I would really like at the moment.
It's quite surprising that there is nothing out there apart from the old Matchbox kit. That's it.
Yeah.
And yet, saber is a saber is a saber. It's a You can't not sell sabers.
Yeah. It's just one of those subjects that I find endlessly fascinating, and it's a saber, so it's it's an aerodynamic Venus, isn't it? Just a perfect jet.
Well, the manager has now walked in and he's looking at me. So I think he's letting me know that I've had my fun time talking to my modelling buddies. I've now got to go up to the library and keep him entertained. So, God.
So until Sunday then.
Okay. You're around Sunday, are you?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm all right for Sunday as well. Like I say, that was it was nice, that trip to Magor, but God, waking up with that bug the next day, could have done without that. So anyway, on that note, folks, we will leave you to it. Thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight to watch 1.5 middle-aged men kind of like struggle through a show. Not going to say which one's
one and a half middle-aged men grumble for an hour.
Well, nothing new there. So we'll be back on Sunday. So until then, as always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you then. So bye for now.